I just remember assuming the role of support for the radiation research lab and like just being exposed to not radiation, but
I was gonna
being
say, I hope not.
not radiation, but
Hello and welcome to Behind the Screens, IT at ND, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the IT solutions consultants at the University of Notre Dame.
Here we explore the challenges they face, the innovative solutions they provide, and the tips and tricks that can help you make the most out of your technology. I'm Krista, Manager of IT Marketing and Communications over in the OIT.
And I'm Scooter, Director of Information Technology for the College of Arts and Letters. We're thrilled to have you with us today. Our guest today is LeeSonn Smith, IT Solutions Consultant in Enhanced Technology Partnerships. LeeSonn supports the Enrollment Division, Indie Studios, Graduate School, Racklin Murphy Museum of Art, and the Snite Research Center. Big breath. Welcome, LeeSonn.
Hi, LeeSonn.
hello. Thanks for having me today, folks. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here. Hey, LeeSonn, before we start, could you tell us a little bit about your current role and the journey that brought you here? How long have you been with the university? How and when did you move into your current role?
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I've been with the university for about 5.5 years. I have been in this particular role as an IT solutions consultant for about 2 years. Prior to that, my kind of exposure to the IT world, if we're going way back, started with my dad. My dad's currently the senior systems administrator for the Indiana Toll Road. And so he's been in IT for pretty much since IT has been IT. So before that, it was called telecommunications, and he was in telecom. He was in the military as a radio operator, so he's been around technology for a
Wow.
while. Yeah, yeah. And I remembered, he would come home with all these switches and hard drives and, SATA docks and routers and all this sort of stuff. And, he'd work on it and tinker with it. And so, from a hardware perspective, I became pretty much enamored with technology at a probably early age of 8 or 7, 8, 9, so to speak. And then from a customer service standpoint, my dad always did a fantastic job of just talking to his customers. Like I said, now he's a senior system admin, but before that, he was kind of just like me, boots on the ground kind of guy. Phone call centers, help desk, things like that. And again, I would just remember him talking to his customers on the phone, and he was always so friendly and nice and patient. And so um, that kind of led me into my first kind of exposure of IT by working at the Apple Store. So I started at the University Park Mall Apple Store in 2014, and I worked there for about 5.5 years. So I was a technician. I use air quotes when I say this. I was a genius.
Yes, genius.
So
Own
air
it.
quotes for sure. Yeah, as I got into Notre Dame, I was like, yeah, I don't know anything about anything, so I can't really call myself a genius anymore. So I worked there on Mac hardware and Mac software. That was actually where I met my current manager, Andy Janatsky. Him and I worked at the Apple Store for I think about 2 to 3 years. Kind of midway through my career or my time there. I met him there. He was my lead genius, so he was my boss and kind of my direct report, or my manager rather, at the Apple Store. He actually very graciously helped me kind of get into Notre Dame as well, and just kind of offered me a couple pointers and that sort of thing, and was part of my interviews and things like that, which
Love
I
that.
wholeheartedly
A-
appreciate. Yep.
Andy's
That's
our
awesome.
lead genius at the
That's
Yeah.
right.
podcast.
Yeah, fans of the podcast will know that Andy Janatsky's our producer. So he's
Yeah.
he's hanging out here with us today, and it's like old home week, right? With LeeSonn and Andy back together.
Yep.
A
Yep.
little funny story about that. When I had my taxes done after working at Apple or during working at Apple, and I put the title lead genius on there, it was like, are you just embellishing your title a little bit, or is that actually what it's called? And I was like, nope, that's exactly what they call it at Apple.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
So,
hilarious.
so LeeSonn, could you, one of the things that's very exciting for us about this interview is you're the first consultant that we're interviewing that's part of the Enhanced Technology Partnerships team. And I know the model works a little bit differently over there. So, I know there are color coded teams over there. Which one of the teams are you on? How many folks are with you? Just can you describe that whole environment for us a little bit?
Yeah, so Enhanced Technology Partnerships falls under kind of one branch of the OIT under Dan Skenzel, who then has Kristen Morin under him, and then a couple different managers below Kristen. And we are part of three different teams. So we have ETP Gold, which is the team that I'm part of. We have eight different IT consultants and on our team, and then we have ETP Blue. I'm not sure the composition of their team, and then ETP Green, which is another team as well. And so each one of these teams help support a kind of vast variety of different departments, units, divisions, and things like that on campus. And like I said, I'm part of the Gold team, which used to be called the ESS team, so Enhanced Support Services. It's went through a couple different name changes, but as it stands right now, it's Enhanced Technology Partnerships.
Awesome. And we rattled off a whole long list of areas that you support. I mean, I have to imagine there are other areas that your team at large supports. How many total areas does the Gold team support?
So Gold, we have right now 16 different departments across campus, different areas. One of them being Notre Dame Research, which alone has about 20 plus different subunits of Notre Dame
Oh,
Research.
wow.
Yeah, so if you ever go to the Notre Dame Research website and you go to, I think it's called reporting units, you'll see like a list of 27, 28 different different little tiny different departments that go into research. And so yeah, our team is 16 different areas, but one of them has quite a few different kind of subunits. And our team is again eight deep, and so you can kind of get an idea of how the work is spread out across all of those.
That's awesome. So, how do you, well, I mean, so I guess among the eight of you on your team, you each have assigned different areas that you're primarily supporting. But within your areas, how are you directly supporting students? You supporting faculty, staff? What's that balance look like? Do you support all of them?
Yeah, so as long as I've been in within the ESS kind of role, which again I started out as a technician kind of role when I first started out in 28 or 2019. Since then I've been handled nothing but staff departments, and so again right now I have the enrollment division, which is comprised of all staff, about 80 or about 90 folks in enrollment. The grad school, which you would think might work with faculty, but the grad school itself is ran, of course, by nothing but staff, and then of course the Notre Dame Studios staff members who help produce our video productions, and the SNITE slash RMMA, Rackham Murphy Museum of Art, are all staff members as well. So I actually don't interact directly with any sort of faculty in my role, and definitely don't interact with students at all. And that is kind of the case across our entire team. I think we have a couple folks who have units assigned to them that might have faculty involved with them, but never really the students. And so we're kind of strictly administrative, staff faculty support for the most part on our team.
Yeah. So, what sorts of different roles do you guys have within the team? You mentioned that most of you don't work, well, none of you work with students, right? But what are some of the variations of roles that you guys have?
Yeah, so our team is comprised of mainly IT solutions consultants, and so we're all consultants that help these different departments, kind of with their IT needs. So roles can kind of vary. We have folks who have departments that are kind of more break fix oriented. So they're there as a consultant to help with kind of bigger picture things, but a lot of their time is maybe spent doing break fix. And then we have consultants who are kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum, where again maybe break fix isn't as emphasized in their units, and they support project work, administrative work, purchasing assistance and things like that. So the roles themselves kind of vary. I like to call the IT solutions consultant role a one-stop shop for IT needs is what I is how I kind of describe myself when people ask, hey, like, what do you do? And so again, that workload can vary between, hey, my printer's broken, I need help fixing it, to, hey, we just bought 20 iPads and we need you to help them set up and get them configured, and purchase apps for them and things like that.
Sounds like
Yeah.
it's a shorter answer to say what you don't do,
Right.
right?
No, for sure.
Yeah.
Student stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fun though. I think that's what lends to kind of how much I enjoy this particular role. There's never really one day that's the same. Definitely just many different projects that need attention, different needs at each department. I've personally supported about, I would have to say, 15 different departments in my time at Notre Dame so far. So when I was a boots on the ground technician, I had like 8 different departments that were depending on me to help. Just again, that wasn't back then consultant work, that was more break fix technician work, but I had about eight different departments at once that I was in charge of, or responsible for
Yeah.
helping fix their break fix needs. So I've like the Notre Dame Rad Lab, the research radiation research lab.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first department. It was that in grad school, or my first 2 departments on campus, and I just remember assuming the role of support for the radiation research lab, and like just being exposed to not radiation, but
I was
being
going to say, I hope not.
not radiation, but quite a few different things. Down there, they have linear accelerators and particle accelerators and all Van de Graaff machines. I mean, all sorts of incredibly unique niche things. I didn't support any of that, but I was around it, seeing that there were computers attached to said instruments. That's kind of one of my more, when I tell people about my role in my career here so far, that was one of my more kind of highlights, especially with it being my first role or my first unit that I was responsible for. I was like, what did you guys just throw me into? Is there's linear accelerators down
Wow.
here? So yeah, quite a wide variety of needs from all of our different units, and I think that's what I really enjoy most about my role.
Awesome. Yeah, so we do have a lot of different units, and you being with the OIT embedded support. Maybe this is a question for Andy about how does that partnership model work with all of the different areas of the university?
Yeah, I can try to answer that a little bit. It's a little bit complicated, as when you talk about the partnerships, we got to really think of it as a subsidy or an enhanced version of what the service desk kind of offers. Service desk being available to campus and anybody can call in and get support. These departments needed a little bit more elevated support, whether they have specific needs, like LeeSonn mentioned, project work, or they need more specific hands-on. When we talk about Notre Dame research and like all the instrumentation that might require, like you can't really service that at the service desk level. So the departments need a little bit more enhanced support, but not necessarily a full-time person. So we're able to offer 4 tiers of support, and that kind of goes down to, like, when we're talking about people's time, it could be considered like 1/4 of an FTE, so to speak. So when we look at capacity, or somebody like LeeSonn, and we got all these 16 different department areas, we try to partner them in a way that says, oh, all these smaller partner areas could be lumped together and supported by one staff person. So nobody's paying for a full-time resource by themselves, but kind of sharing the cost, being good stewards of the university funding. And then the needs kind of go up. From 1/4 of an FTE, it can go all the way up to 1 full FTE, or higher than 1 full FTE, depending on what those departmental needs are. And they contract with us on a yearly basis. So we have conversations and really kind of suss out their needs to figure out what they want out of this. And then we provide that support. And consultation services can come in the form for us as break fix, as LeeSonn kind of mentioned, but it also can be those projects, those workflow improvements. But it's also the invisible support that I think you guys have heard me talk about before is, are we monitoring your security and compliance on your endpoints? Are we doing the work that your staff in your department would have to do by themselves if you didn't have contracted IT support? And we've all seen the emails that the service desk sends sometimes. Hey, your computer might be out of date, or you might need to do those things. With contracting with us, we can take that off their plate and own that responsibility for that department, and really give them a good idea on their IT footprint, and partner with them and build relationships to say, oh, you're changing in like 2 to 3 years. What's this roadmap look like? How do we execute and connect the dots back to OIT? And one of the biggest strengths that we've had as far as building that relationship is the departments feel like we advocate for them. So if there's some needs that OIT needs to provide, but the department needs like special circumstances, and LeeSonn can speak about this a little bit for our indie studios, like our cadence of security patching doesn't always work for indie studios because of the productions that they do. So we got to be as much of an advocate for indie studios to say, hey, OIT, this might not be a good time to push this update or this and that, because it's going to break things on Notre Dame Studios side, as we are going to be as OIT's advocate to the departments to say, your machines aren't really security compliant. We need to kind of get them back up to that line. So by working and having an agreement with advanced technology partnerships or partnerships in general, we're able to provide, like LeeSonn said, a breadth of support for the departments that they otherwise would have to burden on their own shoulders.
That makes sense.
I was gonna say, so it sounds like what we have on campus are really three different models of support. There's on the one extreme, we have service desk and nothing more. I mean, that's great support, but just nothing beyond that. At the other extreme are areas like mine where we have our own dedicated supports. You know, my team of 9 of us that are devoted to the College of Arts and Letters. But then you're filling this really huge gap in between of people who can't go all the way to the extreme end of um, purchasing a whole set of people on their own, or just need a partial FTE or something like that. And that's probably quite a bit of campus.
Yeah,
Um,
and I
Yeah.
would say the one other caveat too with that is we do have what's called position-based partnerships, and the department, instead of paying the fee or the funding, will give us a position that is dedicated to
hmm,
OIT, but it leaves the staff person in the OIT org, so they're part of and integrated with an OIT solution, but have kind of like that dotted line reporting to the department versus the department owning the full experience. And that
nice.
comes with backup support too. So some of the departments that do that, and then let's say LeeSonn wants to take vacation or things like that, like the department still needs IT support for things, and in the broader team of things we can have people cover and stuff like that, which they might not have independently on their own.
Nice. So, Lisan, one question we ask all the consultants we have on here is what is consultancy in your area? And I know you've given us a little bit of information here, but what does consultancy mean to you?
Yeah, I think I'm a great person to ask that question because last year we had a consultancy kind of mini project spun up to try to define our particular role within OIT, and I always thought it was funny that we were being asked to define our work. Because so far it seemed like thus far it had not been quite defined yet, and so I sat in on that team, and for about 8 months we had a group of consultants that kind of worked together to answer your question. um, so, like I said, I think the best way that I can sum it up is kind of this one-stop shop for IT needs. And so, there's been many things that I've been involved with that could kind of go within that one bucket. Like I said, on the one hand, break fix support is something that I do tackle pretty frequently for all four of my areas. And so, for our folks who might not know what that means, that's just simply, hey, a staff member has an issue with their computer, maybe their monitor isn't turning on, maybe their printer's not printing, and things like that. And they would reach out to me via email or via a ticket, and I would, of course, come and assist that. So on the one end, that's kind of kind of the light work, so to speak. But I think what I appreciated about the consultancy role is that that work is important because, like Andy was saying, these departments are paying for our services, and so we could say, hey, go to the help desk and they'd be happy to help you, which they are, and they're great, you know what I mean. But when we have that relationship and they're kind of paying for it, and they want to see me, or they want to see one of our team members, even something as simple as, hey, my printer's not working, I can help add value to their life and to their business needs and things like that by just being there to help them kind of with that issue. And that comes down to the customer service aspect. Andy's team, of course, on my team as well, we support the main building, and they kind of require even a higher service or a higher level, so to speak, of customer service, dealing with executives and senior leaders and things like that. And so that's kind of one of the benefits of the partnership model, is that you're kind of getting a bit of an elevated level of customer service, even for something as what I would say simple as break fix. Um, and then again, kind of going to the other extreme, I've been involved in just a lot of things, kind of bigger picture projects rather. So one of them, again, I kind of referenced earlier with the 20 iPads that was purchased for a department that I was working in. Um, I was out on vacation for about a week and a half or so, and I got back in the enrollment division. They had told me that they were interested in kind of exploring this solution for prior to me leaving. But when I got back, I walked in my office and there was 20 iPads just sitting there waiting for me.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
and so I
Explore
was
these 20 iPads.
Yep. So I looked through my emails and they were like, yeah, Lisa, we dropped these off for you, and here's why. And again, I had maybe a glimpse of why prior to leaving for vacation, but the when, the how, the where, the what was not conveyed to me, and then here they are in front of me. So it turns out I'll kind of go into that a little bit because I think it's actually really cool. It was fun to be a part of this project. The enrollment division are the folks who help manage the campus tours. So anytime if somebody comes on campus and they start in the X Center, or they're starting in McKenna to do a campus tour, that's the enrollment division who has student workers who help guide those tours. For many, many years, folks, when they came back, they would get like a little drawstring bag and a little, a folder with some documents in it, and just like, hey, thanks for coming to Notre Dame, hey, thanks for coming on this college tour. And that was kind of the end of it. One of the administrators in the enrollment division had a good idea of kind of making that experience a little bit more personal. And so what they proposed was that we order these iPads. Each tour guide is given an iPad, and on the iPad is a specific app that was kind of developed specifically for this use case. It's a photography app. It's a camera app, and the camera app is a cloud-based service. And so when you take a picture on the iPad, it within immediately, I mean, I'm talking about a second, is on the server and is back on our kind of web portal that we can look at. And they are using these photos to capture kind of moments on the tour with kids and their families. And so they would, they'll say, "Hey, here's the, here's the main building, a beautiful, in the God Quad. Hey, let's take a picture." And then they would take the picture and immediately gets uploaded to the cloud platform. And then by the time they get back to McKenna, where the tour started, they have this picture printed out for them as kind of like this unique little, memento of the campus visit. And so that was the vision. And so kind of what I had to do for that particular project was, of course, configure the iPads to have them managed in our management systems to make sure that they're secure. I also had to work with the vendor for that app. It's called POV to install the app on the iPads and again, kind of get them set up to work directly with the particular experience that the vendor had made within his application and his platform. And then, of course, I had to document things on how to use the application and do a little bit of training on how to, how to use it and how to go about printing from the web portal as well. And so that was a bit of a long answer to your question, but clearly, the consultancy, it can encompass so many things. It can be, hey, something's broken, I need it fixed, and then it can also be, hey, here's this large scale project that we want, or many times it's me sussing out like, hey, I've noticed that you guys have this project or this process that you're doing. And I've noticed in ways that I can improve it using IT resources. May I present that to you? And then it's kind of kind of going through that. And
Yeah.
so consultancy really is it's that one-stop shop. I have gone back to that, a couple times
Mhm.
now, but it's,
Nice.
any needs that they have, the consultant should help be able to be there to fill those needs. And of course, a lot of times we're not doing the actual work that the needs might require, but we are the folks who are going to get these people partnered up with the right people in OIT to get the work carried out.
Yeah, I think that that's a recurring theme that we hear a lot with our different consultants that we've talked to. That's so important to be able to give those recommendations and those like, you know, custom closer looks at what is the situation. So, what is a typical day like for you? You've got all these different areas that you are a part of and that you maintain. So, give us the breakdown.
Yeah, so I think what's nice, even when I first started in OIT, I was doing some shadow work, and a couple of the consultants that I would shadow, they had dedicated office hours in these different departments. So I think that's a key kind of staple for our group, for the ETP Gold group, with these 16 different areas, is that we have dedicated time that we are spending in each area. And so for me, that kind of ends up being Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. In the mornings, I'm in McKenna for supporting the enrollment division. So from about 8 to noon. So they know I'm there. I'm there to answer any questions. I'm there to carry out any maintenance work, anything that they need within those set hours. On Wednesdays and Thursday afternoons, so after I leave McKenna for enrollment on Wednesdays and Thursdays, I'll head to Notre Dame Studios for my office hours. Again, there that's kind of about 1 to 5, to where again I'm just there for any needs, doing maintenance on our hoteling machines, doing updates, helping them with some of their kind of more internal workflows. And those are kind of the bigger chunks of my
Yeah.
time. So then the other two areas I support, which are going to be the grad school and the SNIT and RMMA, because of their, they're both groups of about, I mean, so grad school is about 20 folks, and SNIT RMMA might be 30, 40 folks. So because they're kind of a bit of a smaller footprint, their overall needs aren't as large. And so on Mondays and Fridays are kind of where I quarantine my time for those guys. And so Mondays I'll spend
Hmm.
the mornings or the afternoons in the grad school. I don't have dedicated office hours for the SNITE and RMMA, but that's simply because it's a museum. And so it's like I could
Yeah,
go hang out. I could go hang out in a museum, but instead I kind of go to them on a case by case basis.
makes sense.
And then yeah, so Fridays I do have a work from home day where I can kind of carry out administrative tasks and professional development and things like that. So the dedicated office hours are the best way to structure my time. And of course, if a department needs something outside of those hours, I'll, try my best to fulfill that need. You know what I mean? So a lot of times, enrollment will say, "Hey, we have a new person starting on Monday. I know we're not here. You're not here normally on Mondays, but could you come and get this person set up?" Absolutely, right? Or hey, Notre Dame Studios, we really need to get these things patched after this weekend of a busy football game. Can you come on a Monday and help us do our patching on these machines after our busy weekend? Of course, happy to do that. And so my time isn't necessarily constrained to set office hours, but the office hours do allow me to be present in a reliable and a consistent time for these folks in case they have any ad hoc needs.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
sounds like a great way to organize things because when you tell me you have so many clients right up front, I'm just imagining running building to building to building to
right.
building. But it sounds like by having those dedicated office hours, you're making some sanity appear.
Yeah, I would say back when I was a technician, when I had those 8 different departments, that was my day. It was building to building to building. I mean, I probably got 12,000 steps in on any given day on campus. I mean, I was running, and I loved it. I personally liked it. I liked having my hands on a lot of different cookie jars, so to speak. But yeah, that was my workflow prior. And then as I became a consultant, it was kind of like, hey, let's go ahead and structure the time to where these folks know that I'm there, and helps me with my sanity, like you said, Scooter.
Yeah, no kidding. So what are some of your key tools and technologies? Like, what do you use to stay on track and like keep projects, sorted and organized?
Yeah, so we're of course pretty heavy into service now. So we have of course our ticketing system, our request forms, our tasks, things like that are all within service now. And our team has done a pretty good job of building out a couple different visual task boards and a couple different dashboards to help kind of summarize the work that needs to be done in these areas. These visual task boards are visible to our entire team, so we can all kind of get an idea of what the workload is. And of course, the ticketing system is, we can apply filters and things like that to kind of get down to the bottom of what work applies to us and maybe what work applies to the rest of the team. So ServiceNow, we're very heavy about using. In terms of actual kind of technical tools, I do use MECM, Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager, for my Windows fleet. And so again, enrollment, they have about 90 folks, and I would say it's about 60-40% split when it comes to Macs versus PCs. And so again, if somebody needs a special piece of software or if somebody's not getting their updates correctly for their Windows machine, I'll go into MECM and kind of tinker with it to kind of ensure that they have what they need. And then on the opposite end of that, we have Jamf Pro, which is going to be our Mac side of things. And so Notre Dame Studios, I'm responsible for maintaining six or actually 17 Mac Studios that we purchased about a year and a half ago. Very robust editing hardware and editing machines. And so I use Jamf pretty frequently to help manage those because, like Andy was saying earlier, Notre Dame Studios has quite a few unique circumstances that don't allow them to operate within the normal kind of frequencies and schedules of the OIT patching and things like that. And so I'll use Jamf to help manage different policies and things to make sure that they can connect to SAN, to the network, and make sure that they're up to date as much as possible. So MECM on the Mac, on the Windows side, Jamf Pro on the Mac side. We also have, of course, Tableau that we use for reporting. Just this year, or this past year, Andy and I worked together to launch a kind of a new product called Flowcode. It's a platform rather that is mainly used for actually generating QR codes, and then that they would link back to kind of a special, I would almost call it like a splash page. And so for Flowcode, I've kind of doled that out to the SNITE, enrollment, and grad school. And the way the site is set up, it's actually a web page, and it's just this nice kind of visually friendly rundown of the different services that folks can get help with from OIT. And that seems to be going well because anybody who's not familiar with ServiceNow, if you go in and start looking for some of these forms and things like that, I mean, it is a mess. It's a lot of words. It's a lot of fields to enter information into. It's a lot of things to search for. And so Flowcode is a new tool that Andy kind of found to help us to kind of just help visualize the type of support that and our end users might need, and they can get that support quickly from this one kind of landing page, so to speak. So we use printer logic for printer management. Bomgar for remote, remoting into machines. I have remote desktop for the Macs that I manage within Notre Dame Studio, since it's kind of more a more robust remote experience. So yeah, just quite a few different tools, and it's been fun learning all of them. Active Directory. So like I said, coming from from coming from the Apple Store when I first got hired in, my shadow, or my person I was shadowing at the time, he was like, yeah, so here's Active Directory, and started going in, and I was like looking at hieroglyphs. I was like, what's an OU? What is it? He was like, yeah, here's all this stuff. And then he showed me MECM. Here's how to make a collection. And I was like, dude, I've never seen any of this in my life. So, quite a few tools that I've had to kind of get exposed to and learn on the fly, which the OIT has, of course, been great about that too, with providing training and shadowing and things like that.
Yeah, that I would agree with that. They definitely do provide a lot of training, and I agree with what you said about ServiceNow too. Sometimes when I have to get in there for this or that, I feel like, am I supposed to? Did I take a wrong turn? Am I supposed to be in here? Is this right?
Well, and LeeSonn, I can sort of echo your experience of teaching the other side. When I first started here back about 20 years ago, I was on the Mac side as well, and was supporting a mixed area. I was supporting the DPAC, which was about 50-50. And when I came on board, they said, "Oh, we'll teach you the Windows stuff." And sure enough, they did dedicate resources, and I got a good mentor and got good training and everything. So you're not an exception to the rule. In this case, it really does speak to the wonderful support that OIT gives to all of us as we're learning our gigs. So
Yeah, the folks on the I guess it's the EE team now, but it used to be called the Cutes team. They're Isaac, Clarence, all those folks. They've been great. Just hey, here to help. If you fire off an email to them, a lot of times they're willing to help. But then they also have formal training, things like that. So it's definitely I'm definitely grateful to be a part of such a large and cohesive team within the campus universe, or the campus environment. I think the if I'm just going back and kind of sharing a story, I think when I saw that the most prevalent was right before COVID. It was that, I think, winter, maybe right before winter break. If you guys remember, we had the Eduroam certificate renewal. And we've had it, I think, since then, but back then, before COVID, it was all hands on deck to make sure that everybody on campus ran that certificate. And it was a campaign and emails and announcements. And then there was a day where we were, I mean, it was like all of OIT was out all across campus. Hey, do you need help running the certificate? Do you need help with your credentials? I remember I was in the South Dining Hall, just like at a station, ready to help students, with their Eduroam certificate. I mean, so
Yeah.
when I say that cohesive team, I think that's one of the bigger, or maybe one of the first scenarios that I saw that I was like, oh man, this feels great to be a part of this, all hands on deck team, because I swear, I mean, it was like all managers were out in the field. It was like everybody was on deck. And I think back to school is another prime example of that cohesiveness and that cooperation within all of IT. So I'm definitely grateful for it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So you talk about the collaboration within OIT, and I heard you mention a little bit about, if there's like a printer problem, you'll go over and help with it. So talk a little bit about your relationship with the service desk and how you guys kind of, do you tackle ticket handling together, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's been a unique collaboration with Service Desk. So like the enhanced, or that like the partnership model kind of conveys. I'm not there in these units all the time, and so I tell folks that if you know that I'm going to be there, feel free to ask me. You know what I mean? Shoot me an email, shoot me a chat, use flow code page. But if you don't, if you know that I'm not there, so for example, on a Tuesday afternoon when I'm not going to be in enrollment, they are encouraged to use the help desk almost exclusively. Again, if it's a time where I'm not in these units, I try to help as I can, but my workload might pull me in another direction. And so I tell people like, hey, if you email me and I'm not in your area, I might not answer. And so service desk is something that we advocate incredibly thoroughly across all of our different units, because again, there's going to be times where the consultant is just not in the area, and these folks might need immediate help. And so, with between that, the calling and the phone options and the email options, and then also with the new Service Desk Dispatch initiative that has came out over the last couple of years, We do have a really good coverage of these areas, despite consultants not being able to be in them 24/7. The service desk is happy to help. And then with dispatch, we have folks who are going out to these units. And so just a couple weeks ago, somebody in grad school had an issue with their computer, and I was across campus and I was tied up in something, and I said, "Hey, service desk dispatch, would you guys mind tackling this and looking at it?" And within maybe 20, 30 minutes, they had a young, one of their staff members out there. They were able to help, or at least assess the situation, right? Even if it's not helping right away, at least, assess the situation. And then they were able to get back to me and either say, "Hey, we were able to fix it," or "Hey, we might need to escalate this up to you, and here is what we tried." So it's definitely a unique relationship with the service desk, but we do use them pretty frequently for the times that we can't quite be there for our customers.
That's awesome. It's nice to have that like good full coverage for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, LeeSonn, let me shift gears just a second. One thing that I know you're involved in is this new IT consultancy community of practice, which I know you and several others have been a part of organizing this first meeting that's coming up. In my notes, I've got the first meeting happening on Thursday, May 8th at 1:30 over in the ITC 226. What can you tell me about this? Why is this group forming and who's it for?
Yeah, so like I said, I sat in and I was able to participate in the IT consultancy kind of framework project last year, and the IT consultancy community of practice is actually a byproduct of that project. And so the need came from the fact that we have so many different groups that meet often within OIT. So I think of ARG, for example, is like the primary group where if any sort of technical questions or topics need to be brought up, we have ARG every Monday to talk about them. And so we have so many of these different groups, but we all kind of realized that we didn't have quite one for consultants. And with how varied our consultancy roles are and the different needs for each different department, collaboration is actually really important for all of us to be able to get on the same page about some certain things. Or, if, hey, do we see this emerging issue coming up? Or, hey, we know this big initiative is changing or is coming down the road in about a couple months. Let's talk about it. How are we going to disseminate that out to our groups? And so the need was, again, just a frequent and consistent collaborative meeting between all the different consultants and others who might be interested in consultancy to get together and to talk about upcoming things, or just share, "Hey, here's what I'm working on, here's the resources that I use, here's this vendor that I'm working on," and things like that. So the group is for, again, IT solutions consultants, but really it can be anybody who's interested in consultancy, anybody who works adjacent to us as consultants. So it should be a nice diverse group of people. And then in terms of topics, is and kind of what we're looking at as we come up. So the May 8th meeting next week, is that next week already? It is.
It's really
Or
soon, yes.
yeah, sure enough. So that first one is going to be about the budget cuts and the budget considerations. Maybe not cuts is the best word, but the budget considerations that have been rolled out over the last month or so, from the top down, from the president himself said, "Hey, we're gonna be cutting budgets just to kind of accommodate for the changing economic times." And so we as consultants are all meeting together to kind of see, how does that affect us? How does that affect our units that we support? How does that affect the solutions that we offer and the hardware that we might purchase or the software we might purchase? And so that'll be a good kind of initial meeting for us to kind of all get together and discuss again what that looks like. But we hope to have many other discussions about just consultancy best practices. So hey, what are some just common things that we can all do to make sure that the user experience across all of our departments is the same or at least very similar. We hope to have discussions about maybe the future of the cloud and the future of AI and things like that. And so it's really just going to be anything that consultants can touch or are involved with. These meetings are going to be every 4 to 6 weeks to help kind of talk about them.
So I've heard that at this first meeting that the idea is we're going to have a panel presentation. You talk about this economic uncertainty. Who's going to be on that panel?
Yeah, so for this panel, we are going to have the Senior Director of Finance for OIT, Matt Anderson. We're going to have the Director of the ETP, or not Director, Manager of the ETP Gold Team, which is Kristen Morin. And we're going to have Katie Hahai from Procurement. And so between all three of those, we really hope to get this nice top-down view of, what's in the pipeline for the budget considerations and how we as consultants can work around them while still delivering a good customer service experience to our units.
Excellent. Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Can you tell us that date again?
Yeah, it's going to be May 8th, 1:30, 226 ITC. So we're hoping to have as many people join us as possible in person since it's kind of a collaborative effort. It'd be nice to see faces. I'm sure there's consultants that I don't know quite yet, and even within OIT that I'll be able to meet and talk to. And we will have a Zoom option as well if folks need to.
Excellent.
That room is pretty cool for Zoom. Like if there's people having a meeting in there and it's a lot of folks and you end up being one of the people on Zoom, it's still neat. It like pulls up different cameras and zooms in on people like better than like the standard like owl. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, 226 has gone through quite a bit of transformation. If you
Mm-hmm.
guys didn't get a chance to go to the coffee house from a couple weeks ago, that was really cool to see the whole 226 turned into a venue for the OIT coffee house, which we normally have in, Cool Runnings or Veggie Buddies. But now we have this, big old room where everybody was able to kind of hang out, and there's chairs and food and drinks and things like that. So yeah, I agree. 226 is a cool little
Yeah.
space.
So one another thing that we like to ask everybody on this podcast is what is your elevator pitch for your role? So IT consultancy in your area. What would you say like your like 1 minute elevator pitches for what it is, how it's effective, why we can't live without it, etc.
Yeah, well, I'd say my name is LeeSonn, and I would like to be your kind of one-stop shop for any IT's needs that you might have. I'd be happy to help you with any objectives, business objectives, any up-and-coming missions that you guys might have, and I want to be that person to help build the bridge between what your needs are and all the different resources OIT can offer. OIT, we have many different software platforms, many different subunits, and we are here to help service you to get to get down to your business needs and help achieve whatever mission that you might have. On top of that, I'm happy to help with just simple, hey, things are broken, I'm here to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as well as just kind of being that one kind of face within your department that you can rely on for any technology needs, because we all know technology can be scary, it can be ever changing, and so I'm here to help kind of be help it be less scary and provide a little bit of consistency despite the change.
Yeah, right on.
Andy, I think no whatever you call sales within the ETP program, I think we need to get LeeSonn signed up. I think he's got a great pitch for your team.
Yeah, I should start bringing him to my annual meetings when I talk to partners about next year's contracts.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That was
Okay.
off the top too. I didn't even prepare for that one.
Yeah, good job.
Dig
It was
yourself in deeper.
excellent.
I see meetings in your future.
Okay,
Krista, is it time for consultant
I was
quirks?
gonna say, are you guys ready for some goofball questions, some silly stuff?
I'm down. Yeah.
So this is where we will ask a few fun rapid fire questions. So if you could have dinner with any person, real or fictional, living or dead, who would it be and why?
I would love to have dinner with Jesus. He seemed like a very nice guy, to say the least. Very, very nice guy to have dinner with. Very, very loving person, and it would just be interesting to pick his mind, and it'd be definitely a night to remember. So, he's on my top for sure. If it was not Jesus, I would say it would be. Maybe like Leonardo DiCaprio. I feel like he's probably pretty cool to hang out with. I'm not not gonna lie. Leo DiCaprio seems like he'd be fun to just kind of have dinner with and talk about his experiences as an actor. So that's my answer to those. So there.
Nice. I also heard that Jesus is nice and loving. Yeah, and
Something like that.
exactly, yeah. And the best news is, as a God following man, you're gonna get to meet one of those guys one day, and it'll be Jesus. Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, what
Yeah.
book would you recommend everyone read and why?
Well, in light of my answer about Jesus, I would recommend reading the Bible.
There you
I've
go.
been on a
What book?
all
Oh,
Where do we start?
all 66. If you wanted to start somewhere that's a bit more, let's just say, use the word exciting. You could start at the Greek Testament, so Matthew. You could start there and kind of get the what I would almost call the
Right.
climax of the Bible.
Yeah, the Jesus parts. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
However, just like any narrative, it is important to get to the start of the beginning, because then you get the whole. I mean, you don't nobody jumps into Lost season 3. You know what I mean? Like you watch all of Lost, right? So starting at the beginning, it helps. Helps ground you in the context, and because it's all historically accurate, and you can corroborate a lot of the events that are told in the Bible. It's kind of like this period piece, except the period it's real. It's like this
Yeah.
period piece. You're reading about these real experiences. So I would say, starting at Genesis is definitely a bit of a task. Genesis to Revelation is what I'm doing. I'm in Daniel right now, so I'm about almost 2/3. Actually, yeah, about 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah.
But yeah, starting at Matthew would also be a good kind of
I,
more interactive way to go about
yeah,
doing it
my
as
my
well.
youth pastor growing up always told people to start in Matthew.
I think it's almost like how George Lucas did Star Wars Episode 4, right? We had a bunch of information.
There you go. Yeah.
We had a bunch of context of what happened before Episode
Yep.
4, but Episode 4 is where people, is where he started to tell the narrative, and so that could be viewed the same way as the Bible in a way. I also think the Book of Ecclesiastes is incredible. Anybody who's having trouble finding value in their life, finding drive, finding purpose in their life, just one book and 12 chapters can, if you
Hmm.
really think about it and if you really drill into it, it can really help change your perspective on a lot of things, and kind of why we're here in a way. Even if you're not somebody who believes in God, you can kind of get a lot of good psychological
Yeah.
things from Ecclesiastes. So it's been quite a journey, and I've been really enjoying it. Again, from a historical aspect, I've been kind of going about it as a bit of a scholar. I've been doing research to again ensure that what the Bible says lines up with secular history,
Hmm.
and things like that. So definitely recommend it. It's a bit of a bit of a task, a bit of a large task in front of you, but it's an incredible book. Not to mention all the practical advice and knowledge that it has that you can apply to make your life a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good recommendations in there. I appreciate the background too. So, if you weren't in IT, what job would you have?
So right out of high school, I enrolled at IUSB, and I was there for 3 weeks before life took a turn and I had to not go to college. But I was there for music education. So I play the flute. I've been playing the flute for about 21 years now. I love it. It's my favorite thing to do probably on this earth. And I love music, and I love teaching music. Or I think I would love teaching music. I've never done it in a formal setting, but I think that if I was given the right circumstances and the right education, the passion for music is deep within my DNA, and it just needed to be formalized in an educational aspect for me to be able to convey that to others. So I think I would love to be a music teacher, just inspiring this next generation of kids to embrace your passions, embrace the arts, embrace taking liberties and taking risks and things like that. Because music is incorporates all that. Embrace learning another language. I mean, learning music is literally learning another language, which studies have shown if it helps child cognition like 100-fold. So yes, music educator for sure, or music performer. Just like I think Scooter, you do music performance, and so that seems like a really cool kind of adventurous lifestyle as well, just to go out and play in different symphonies and different orchestras and things like that. But whatever it was, if it wasn't IT, it would most certainly involve music.
It's
Awesome.
great to find another brother in the arts here.
Yes, sir.
Love it. So hey, LeeSonn, thank you ever so much. This has been a lot of fun chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for the time and for the opportunity to just come talk about consultancy. And I've listened to just about every one of you guys' episodes so far, and they're all great. And so I like what you're doing here, and I
Awesome.
definitely I'm looking forward to being part of more of consultancy and things like that in the future.
Excellent.
If you've got someone you'd like us to interview, just email those ideas, that person's name, to btspodcast@nd.edu. And if there's anything else new, exciting, frustrating, or inspiring happening in your IT consultancy world, please share that with us too. We'd love to hear your insights and your ideas.
Signing off from behind the screens, IT at ND.
Stay tech savvy, Notre Dame.
Cut.